Hey guys, welcome back.
ROMEOs.
We are back.
It's Romeo Day.
Aki, every day
is Romeo Day.
All right, now that we got that cleared up. Viewers, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it as always. Interested in any comments you may have regarding the podcast, so feel free to provide those. And of course, we really enjoy likes. So if you would be obliged and give us some likes. And last but not least, we're also looking for subscriptions. If you can help in that regard, that would be much appreciated.
Yeah, we're retired. We need the money.
Come on, let's go. Not about money. It's about fun.
Oh, that too, yeah.
Yeah. Capitalist dog.
So, as we get older,
Fascist.
as we get older, as we reflect back on life, as we consider ourselves wiser, as we look at young people and offer all kinds of opinions, in some cases constructive feedback about how people are behaving these days, I thought it'd be interesting for us to reflect back on our own lives and ask ourselves a very simple question. What advice would we offer our 18-year-old selves? How does that sit with you?
That sounds like an amazing topic.
That's
Does it?
deep.
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 Well, if it's deep, we're going to go directly to Dominic.
There you go. The one thing I would tell my 18-year-old self is forget about university, learn a trade, start a construction company.
I thought you'd say age of consent is 14.
Start a construction company, invest your money in real estate, and work hard.
Yeah, but that's just about money. I mean, you know.
Well, look, it is about money. Because once you have financial freedom, it will allow you to do everything else.
What about dreams? What about vision?
Exactly. Dreams.
That's why we have you, Aki.
Yeah.
So,
Talk about
Dominic, break it down for us.
Yeah.
So you started off with forget about university,
Yeah.
and then you had a list from there. Let's hit on some of those.
Well, it's because I've noticed some of the friends that went to elementary school, they did not go to university.
Yes.
A lot of them are very successful businessmen.
Of course.
You know, I mean, these were not the brightest kids. I mean, when I went to elementary school, we had for each grade 3 classes, A, B, C. A were the top students, B, average, C. Now look at the ones that were in the C class. Now, well, I mean, not all of them. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. But a lot of them will open up businesses with no formal education, hardly high school. Some of them didn't even finish high school. And look at them today. I mean, there's this one guy who's got this huge fruit distribution company, huge, worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He didn't finish high school.
Yeah. So I think we've known for some time school's not for everyone.
No, that's it. So,
And school isn't necessarily an indicator of future success. In other words, how well you perform in school, particularly elementary and high school, is certainly not an indication of future success.
and you're right, Aki. It's not always about money. Sorry, Dorans. But you know, that's the foundation, though, to be able to do other things, to be philanthropic, and to be, in this case here, this guy with the big fruit is not very philanthropic because we've approached him a few times.
But he is towards himself.
He is towards himself, yeah.
Well, I might just add as an asterisk to what you just said, that it's also a little bit of an indication of the taxation and the way society treats small business and business owners versus people who go through the corporate path, and how that's taxed away from you at a much higher rate. So
Good
that's, you've learned that now. So maybe one of the things you tell your 18-year-old self is to think about taxation, think about different ways that you can earn money and keep the money that you earn as opposed to giving it back to the government.
Yeah, good point.
What other advice would you offer your 18-year-old self?
Wow. Well, yeah. So I when I think of myself at 18, I think of myself almost as a raw nerve, the way that I was, the human being that I was as a kid is certainly not the person I am now. And the things that I would tell that 18-year-old kid who had absolutely no patience, who would fly off the handle very quickly, who was all emotion or a lot of emotion and not a lot of insight and not a lot of thought would be to just freaking relax. Relax. Slow down. Stop being such a hot-headed, emotional powder keg of a human being and just relax the fuck down. That's what I would have told myself, because I was not the person I'm not the person I wasn't the person I am now, and it's not the person I would have wanted to be at that age, because it's just, the emotions and the hormones that were in me at that time, just it was a lot.
Yeah, but Duran, you consider yourself successful?
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe that was the foundation.
Well, good point, but at the same time, as a
I
human,
think it was.
It made me move. It made me do shit.
Exactly.
So you say it was foundation, fair enough. What I'm hearing, and perhaps my interpretation, is there are elements, as you look back, there are elements of your 18-year-old self that you're not terribly impressed with. And so if you could offer yourself some advice, you would change a few things in order to make you perhaps a better person.
Better person and more in line with what I would want for my kids' friends to be like. If I can put it that way.
Yeah.
Your kids'
Right.
friends.
Yeah.
But not your kids.
But that's also
And my kids. Definitely my kids, but
Yeah,
my kids
but-
aren't like that. That's why.
18 though. 18 though is also, it's full of adrenaline.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You're still as a human being, right? You're still coming into your own, so you're at a crossroads.
Yeah, so if I can modify it to your point, 18, maybe 18 or early 20s, let's say. Let's expand that time frame. I would say patience is the one thing that I would ask of myself, because I was very impatient in multiple facets of my life, when it came to relationships, when it came to friendships, when it came to work, when it came to anything in my life, when it came to driving and waiting for someone to go on a green light. Just every part of me, again, raw nerve. And I was like that throughout my 20s as well.
Yeah.
Where anything anything you touched elicited a reaction, as opposed to, hey, hang tight, think, and understand, as opposed to react.
And I'd add to what you said, and I agree with, and I can see it. And I would add another layer, which is, don't worry so much about the future. It's not how you start that counts. It's how you finish.
Interesting.
I'll disagree with that.
Yeah, me too.
I think every stage matters.
Yeah.
So now that you've offered him,
Right.
or you've offered 18-year-old Nuran advice, what advice would you offer yourself?
Well, exactly that. No, exactly that. Don't worry so much about the future. Life is a marathon, so pace yourself, be true to yourself, and yes, and do what you enjoy and what you feel is right.
Wow. I think life is a sprint. It's so fast.
Interesting.
I think it depends on your perspective.
Well,
Depends
I
how
think
long you live.
at our current stage of life, it feels like a sprint. When you're 18 years old, are you telling me it felt like a sprint?
no, not at 18, but like, I don't think it's, because, you're 18, you realize your career is about, 30 years.
Yeah, but 30 years when you're 18 seems like a freaking forever.
Maybe, but it's,
If you're even thinking in terms of career.
yeah.
And it's important to soak up that time of your life when you're 18, 19. I mean, right, even for our kids. Enjoy your youth.
Oh, of course.
Enjoy your youth.
Of course, but like Pat said, the future is important. Every step.
Well, you say enjoy your youth now, but you were the one that was shitting on the youth of today because you think that they're lazy and they're not focused enough.
That is taken completely out of context.
Absolutely not. So,
Let's go back to the podcast.
pick a horse,
and
okay?
let's look at some of the feedback from some of our younger listeners. They understood what I was saying.
Now let's hear from Pat.
Yeah, let's hear.
Yeah. What would you?
We'll fight later.
You got it.
So what advice would I offer my 18-year-old self? I would start with be authentic and be true to yourself. Be true, in other words, be true to your values, your core values, your core beliefs. Don't stray from those.
Does that mean that you weren't? When
Yeah,
you were 18?
that's
No.
okay.
Some things I may tell my 18-year-old self are reinforcement of things that...
Come on. Now you're being disingenuous.
Why?
You should. for me, the question is about what do you think you did wrong at 18 that you'd want to go
that's,
back and tell
that's
yourself
your
to do?
interpretation of the question.
No, that's the correct interpretation of the question.
Why?
It's more general.
Why?
It's more general. Yeah. Sorry.
I don't look at it that way.
Okay. First of all, I feel triggered because you're all, ganging up on me.
No,
Junior.
Chill. Don't let your emotions get the better of you.
Right now, my adrenaline is through the roof.
Be patient.
I'm shaking. Sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway, so
Apologize.
I would say be authentic, be true to yourself, enjoy every stage of life. Yes, it's going to go by quickly, but it is a journey nonetheless. And make sure that you plan for various stages of life. By the same token, be prepared to take some risks, calculated risks, or else you may not get full value out of life. What else would I tell my 18-year-old self?
So to please Noran, is there anything you would do different?
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say probably along the same lines as Noran.
Okay.
I had a tendency to be somewhat impatient and intolerant of certain things.
You still are.
Yes. But now I have a chance to tell my 18-year-old self, do a better job of addressing these character traits.
How's that worked out for you?
It's worked out well. It may not have worked out well for the people around me,
Exactly.
but it's worked out beautifully.
Exactly.
I love my life.
Exactly.
I love it.
We love you, Pat.
The other thing I would tell my 18-year-old self is make sure that you focus on what you're most passionate about in life. The rest is just window dressing. So find the passion and pursue it with vigor. And for the most part, you will probably find life to be enjoyable.
Trust your instincts. Would that be reasonable?
I wouldn't offer myself that advice. I don't think instincts are always necessarily on point.
So I have a bone to pick with the thing you said previously, which is to follow your passion.
Yeah.
What if someone's passion is collecting daisies?
Yeah.
Your passion happened to be something which allowed you to be successful in life and to provide the life that you want for yourself and your family, because the things that you did in life kind of aligned with what you enjoyed doing, and those things were actually monetizable because companies would actually pay you to do that because you were good at it and you enjoyed it.
So, fair enough. So let me expand on that.
Yeah, because
I maintain follow your passion. If your passion happens to be in areas that you can monetize and that will help ensure your financial well-being, good for you.
Right. And if
it's not, then still pursue your passion, but make sure that as part of the planning process I referred to earlier, you're identifying areas of endeavor that are going to allow you to manage your life in a financially responsible way.
To his point.
So I don't think they're mutually exclusive. And I think that the people who are really fortunate in life
you kind of
have an opportunity to monetize what is their passion.
So I agree with what you just said, which is, yeah, if you're super lucky, you can monetize your passion and, you could be an actor or whatever, whatever that thing is that you love to do, a singer, a musician. Imagine all the successful musicians. How lucky are they that they love what they do every day and they get paid a ton of money to do it? Fantastic. But what percentage of humanity is so fortunate to be able to do that?
But that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't matter, because I can tell you, I worked with a number of people through the years, for instance, and we'll stick to the musician theme, who were very accomplished musicians, but not so accomplished that they can make a really good living at it. So what did they do? They found a different path in order to earn a living.
I agree with you 100%.
And then what they would do evenings and weekends is they would continue exercising their musical talents.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they were happy, 100%, very happy.
100%. But I'm just, my comment is, how fortunate are you to actually have those two aligned? And you were fortunate.
Yes.
In life to have those two aligned, where you actually loved what you were doing and were able to monetize that thing. That is like the nirvana of humanity.
Yeah, but I'd say, wouldn't you guys agree that when we're honest about our passion and we really pursue it, we'll do well? Maybe not. I mean, well, I'm not talking about in terms of financial success.
That's what I mean.
But in terms of happiness, in terms of being like a well-rounded human being.
Yeah, but I got
But
to
I'm
go
not
back
sure.
to,
I'm
to
not sure
Dominic's
you can
point.
you can ever be a truly happy person if you're living in poverty.
Well, that's Dominic's
Yeah, but
point, right?
but I don't.
You have to have a baseline of comfort in your life that allows you to go after your passions. If you don't have the means to have at least a basis of a roof over your head, a warm meal, being able to take care of your family
And clothing.
Most of the people. Okay, speaking
clothing option.
Most of the people, that I think of that were really true to themselves and really pursued their passion did well in life. Now they may not be millionaires, but they're successful people in terms of being happy, having good families, and just making a contribution in their own way.
You're making a
I
generalization.
think that's fair in the sense that you don't have to be, I won't say millionaire, you don't have to be a billionaire.
I understand. Of course, nobody wants to wind up in poverty.
But I do agree with Nurin that there has to be a baseline.
Yeah, you have to have
So-
at least a
I know, but you
baseline.
don't start. I mean, but this conversation, I guess, this is where I guess it depends on our personality, right? You guys are starting already, with this business aspect to it.
It's not a business aspect.
I never said
it's
that.
a
I said
financial
patient.
reality.
That's the way I'm reading
It's
what
a
you're saying.
financial reality
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
your life
Yeah.
will be rendered relatively easy or hard depending on what your financial means are.
Yes.
The second thing I would tell my 18-year-old self, which today I still have a hard time with, is that the truth is not always appreciated.
And why would you tell your 18-year-old self that?
Because you've pissed off a lot of people.
Exactly.
And do you have a problem with that in hindsight?
I don't have a problem, but
Yeah, but can I just add, your truth, if I may, that you have to be careful.
no, truth that eventually became reality. At the time, it was an opinion, but more often than not, it was.
So what you're saying, in other words, is sometimes you should keep your opinion to yourself as opposed to
Well,
throwing
no,
it out
I
there.
still don't.
I'm not talking. I'm just saying as advice to your 18-year-old.
No, just
What do you think?
be conscious that it's not appreciated.
Sometime, okay. So be aware of the people you're talking to.
So I would just, if I may, I would just elaborate on what you said, and I would say to my 18-year-old self, don't be so sure of yourself. Think things through. Make sure that you have all the facts before you go out there and stick your neck out on stuff.
You can never have all the facts.
So much for operating on instinct.
Well, no, but the
Exactly.
patience thing, I think it comes back down to having patience and not flying off the handle.
Exactly.
I know, and I think I understand what you're saying because I was that way where
Right.
I would react.
Right.
I was again that exposed nerve. Anything that touched it, there would be a reaction out
Right.
of me, as opposed to just.
So
whoa.
I'm listening to the conversation, and I think we need to remind ourselves every coin has two sides. So I understand the point about patience, and I don't disagree with it. However, taken too far, it translates into individuals who are so bloody patient that they have no drive, no initiative.
Exactly.
They don't have the get up and go, right?
Yeah,
they
but
don't have
it's
this.
the difference between a hair trigger and a regular trigger. I was more of a hair trigger. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough. And I think that distinction is extremely important.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I would tell my 18-year-old self or remind my 18-year-old self is don't be a passenger on this journey of life.
Definitely.
Go get it.
Fair point.
Go after it.
Fair point.
Make it happen.
Fair point.
Get into the driver's seat.
Yeah. And make things happen for yourself and for others.
Yep. Good advice. Good advice.
But it all ties together. What you're saying, what I'm saying about having a passion, being true to your values, being true to your passion. That's it all leads to that.
Well-
which you have a purpose in life.
Because none of us are homeless, right? We all succeeded in our own way, right?
Not yet.
So I think from a basis, from a base perspective, we're coming from a basis of success, and being able to provide for our families and raising our families and so on. So thankfully, that's where we're all coming from. Now we're trying to improve or incrementally improve how we might have been, besides Pat being perfect at 18.
Anything but. Anything but.
Well, you still didn't say what are
there are countless people who will actually support the fact that I was anything but. Yeah.
But I still want to know, what would you have changed of yourself at 18?
I'm not sure I would have changed anything.
See, that's my point.
No, but not because I was perfect, because I think life is made up of experiences,
Exactly.
some positive, some not so positive.
Okay, so because you're happy with the outcome, you wouldn't want to change
I'm
the
not
beginning.
happy. And I'm not happy with the outcome because there is no outcome. I'm happy with the journey. I'm happy with the journey.
Ah, nice.
If-
Well said.
If anything, I would say that there are people
Okay.
I may have hurt along the way. It was never my intention to hurt those people, but my words and actions may have hurt them. Do I regret that? To some extent, yes, I do regret it.
But not really.
I'm surprised.
Well, not really. From the standpoint
It's not going to
that
affect you.
it came from a place of really wanting what was in the best interest of everyone involved.
In your mind.
In my mind, of course, in my mind.
That's right.
So what's wrong with
I
that?
can't get into
So
other
at
people's-
18,
right?
Pat-
Of course.
So how much did empathy play, or your ability to think in other people's shoes, or to project into other people's reception of your stuff? Is that something you would have preferred to be better at 18?
And you
Yeah.
really
Come on, give it to me. Give it to me. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I would tell
found
you,
one.
my, it's not that I'm not an empathetic person, but I'm very selective in how I apply empathy. Because a lot of situations people find,
Selective empathy.
What did he just say?
Oh, he's
me,
better
I'm
than
not
me.
the most
So basically,
empathetic
fuck you
person.
to everyone except
No.
the few that I want to be empathetic.
No, not, it's to me, it's more circumstance. So I would tell you, there are people I've come across throughout my life that truly suffer from misfortune.
Okay.
And I feel terrible for those people. Always have, always will.
Okay.
But there are many more people I have come across in my life's journey who suffer from self-imposed woes.
Yeah, self-inflicted. Yeah.
And I don't feel empathetic towards those people.
Totally agree.
But even if they suffer, I mean, even if they're suffering, even if they made, you're right for all those reasons, they made the wrong choice, and now they're suffering, and now their life is shit. You have
So
you
this
don't
is the
that
difference.
doesn't mean anything to you.
If all they do is sit and complain about being victims of life, no, I'm not empathetic.
So this is amazing because it really shows the difference in terms of values or ability to help your fellow man. So Aki, you'd be willing, or you'll feel bad for someone who's made all the wrong choices. They had the ability to make choices in their lives, and they've made all the wrong choices, and because of that, they're down and whatever, and
they're hurting. Yeah, I would be sympathetic.
Whereas so Pat would not be sympathetic. Dominic, forget it. I don't even need to ask. And by the way,
No gray there.
and by the way, I feel the same as Pat and Dominic on that one, 100%. So your ability to have empathy for someone who's made all the wrong decisions, and remember, they made those decisions. It wasn't imposed
Yes,
on them.
yes.
It wasn't someone who's like a migrant from a different country.
So
You make the wrong decisions. You decide you're going to drink. You decide whatever. You just make all the bad things, and you still have the ability to have empathy for that person.
Well,
you're amazing.
a person's in pain and suffering. I mean, yes,
Again,
there's a logic to you.
You're
you
a
can-
saint. You
Look,
are a saint.
I
don't
think
mean-
most people are like me. Thankfully,
No, they're not.
And
Aki,
you
on
are
that point,
a
you're
great.
sadly mistaken.
You are an
Most
amazing.
people are not like you.
You are an amazing human being. And I
Look,
mean
I'm not
this
saying-
truly. Aki, I mean this truly. I'm not saying this
okay.
in a stupid
Guys,
way.
I'm not saying that I'm going to
Holy
be.
shit.
I'm not going to be a sucker. But I'm just saying is, in front of you, you have a human being that for different reasons is absolutely suffering. They're in the ditch, literally and figuratively, right?
Wow.
I mean, how can you just dismiss that or?
Because they made all the wrong choices for themselves.
Well, I know,
but
but-
this is where our minds work differently.
Wow, that's amazing.
Because you immediately go to compassion, empathy,
Exactly.
assistance.
You're a great human being.
I look at the situation, and as quickly as I can, my mind tries to process, how did they land in the ditch? How did they land in the ditch?
Why?
That's part of it, of
They
course.
consume excess alcohol, get behind the wheel of a car, stupidly drive at a high speed, and land in a ditch. I feel no sympathy, empathy, or any other
There's
feeling.
different, there's different circumstances.
No, but that's
we're not
what-
talking about criminal behavior. A drunk driver.
My point is, our immediate reaction to finding someone in a ditch
Is different.
is different.
Very different. Yeah.
Your mind immediately goes to
Poor guy.
right? How can
What's
I
the
help?
story here? My mind goes to what's the story here?
No, it's so.
What's the story here? Does somebody? No, let me tell you. Okay,
It's more like sad story. How can I help?
There's a person that's in pain. They're suffering, and what is the story here? How did this happen? Yeah, I think that's fair to kind of have that reflection as a human being. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm not saying condoning. I'm not saying condoning like irresponsibility, criminal action, but you do have a situation where there's pain. You're facing suffering.
You have a
and
great
you're completely what? You're completely apathetic to that.
I would marry you. You have a great heart.
He's taken.
That's all.
But
Yeah,
fair enough.
Fair enough. I'm only empathetic to people that are afflicted with conditions beyond their control, like a disease, like
Yes,
an accident,
serious illness.
Exactly. That I'll be entirely empathetic to. Everybody else, no.
So, okay, let me put something a little radical out here. So all of us, here we are, and do we think that life will never be, we'll never have some sort of cataclysmic situation in our lives that could change us, could change everything?
Yeah, but I don't look for other people's empathy. I don't look for handouts from other
No,
people.
but you're talking about another situation.
All I'm saying is,
out of that person's control.
All I'm saying is it's part of the human condition that something unforeseen can completely throw you off and destroy your life.
Okay, give an example.
God forbid we lose our families die in a plane crash and we're alone.
Okay, see, that's another.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean,
And
I'm
it's
just
out
saying.
of control. It's out of your control.
No, but I mean, in
We're
a
not-
situation, and then things can go. I mean, I'm being very, very hypothetical here.
Aki, there's a difference between being heartless
Exactly.
and being selective in terms of
empathy.
how you apply empathy.
Yeah, exactly.
I am just
based
saying.
on situations, circumstances. and
Here's
so
my
on.
here's the only thing that I'm suggesting is that we're all vulnerable. We could all wind up in a completely unanticipated disaster in our lives.
unanticipated.
And everything can go off track, and we could be that that suffering person
Yes.
that's really lost control of life, and they're living in poverty, they're living in
So you're-
misery, and then when we see that person, what as a human being, what reaction would be appropriate?
If I can paraphrase what you're saying, we're all 2, 3, 4 bad decisions away from being homeless.
Not necessarily decisions, circumstances of life as well, things beyond our control.
There you go.
But here's the difficulty you have. You're 100% right on the point you're making. However, too many people in this world go through life thinking that they're victims of circumstance, as opposed to realizing that the vast majority of what happens in our lives
Is
is
controlled.
within our control.
Right. So
Or our sphere of influence at a minimum. So that's the issue I have.
So how do you rationalize?
okay, so I want to say the following. I think so as people who have been blessed because of our abilities, because of the choices that we've made, do we have no responsibility to try and help and pull some of those people out of their misery?
Don't we pay taxes?
Oh, here we go again. Well, that's
Isn't where the government doesn't government provide services?
So there's no as individuals,
social safety
as
net.
individuals, then we have no moral responsibility whatsoever.
Aki,
That's your
First of all,
choice.
it's personal.
You can give
The other thing is, it comes in different forms.
Okay,
So I
we really went off our topic, by the way.
No.
Well, yes and no. It's
Okay,
expanded
bring us
topic.
back, Pat.
After I make this point. It comes in different forms and degrees. So for instance, do I think of myself as a charitable person? Not particularly. Do I choose to provide financial assistance to certain causes which are near and dear to my heart? Yes, I do. There are people who do nothing. So I don't consider myself charitable, but I'm doing something. There are people like you who actually may apply financial resources. They give their time, they give their energy, they devote their lives or a good portion of their lives to helping the less fortunate. It's a question of degree. So I don't think any of us are in the camp of, I sit back, I spend my hard-earned money on myself, on things that matter to me. I'm materialistic. I don't give a rat's ass about anybody else. No, I don't think any of us are like that.
No.
But
Over to Nuran.
I'm borderline sociopath.
You never disappoint.
But I'm a big softie.
at times, I give you more credit than you deserve. This is not one of those times because you are a kind-hearted person.
You all are.
right? You're a kind, generous person.
So it's degrees. That's where we can
if
agree.
I look at these 4 individuals, you're different from the rest
Maybe
of us.
I ask more because of my experience.
You expect more of yourself.
I expect more of myself.
Vis-a-vis
Absolutely.
the community that you're
Absolutely.
part of.
Absolutely.
Like I said, you're a great human being.
It doesn't mean that we're not caring at all. It just means that we don't have the same degree of care as
close
you
up
do.
of Dominic right now.
Why?
Oh, we just have different criterias.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's also based on who we are, what we've experienced.
Yeah.
You know,
Agreed.
Sure.
so for me, it's hard to be empathetic.
Sure. So back to our
Very
18-year-old
hard.
selves.
Okay. Fuck him.
Okay, nice attitude.
He'll figure it out.
Okay, reflecting back then on our 18-year-old self.
Right.
What are
Right.
the areas or facets of life that we think we would have most benefited from paying more attention to, or heeding advice from well-intentioned people around us?
Actually, another piece of advice I should give my 18-year-old self is stop thinking with the small head.
I'll tell you one thing that I missed out on: networking.
Ah,
The importance of networking
Yeah.
when you're young.
so networking.
good one.
Networking in the term of building relationships.
Well, with the right people at the right class level.
Oh,
Yeah, I
wait a
know.
second. What do you mean at the right class level?
Well, I'll tell you. You know when I realized I was poor? When I was in my first year in college. We
Okay.
had to do a project, team project. And we went
To be somebody's nice house.
to somebody's house.
We've all
in
had
the-
that experience.
In Westmount.
Yeah.
That's the first time I realized how, I knew I was poor. I didn't know how poor I was.
Well,
And
did you miss meals?
no,
Did you have clothes?
you're right.
Did you have a roof over your head?
I did.
So you weren't poor. You weren't as financially well off as
Right.
other people.
But then I realized how important it is to make that network work for you. You know, to have the right people in your circle.
Okay, it's an interesting thought. And I would tell you, I would approach it very differently. So I have met people of all walks of life, of various means financially. Nowhere did I find consistency in terms of the character of those people, the not the net worth, but the worth of those people in terms of what they bring to society, what they bring to people around them.
But you're thinking about it as a career.
None whatsoever.
The career, yeah.
He's thinking about it not as to the people I surround myself with, but how that could help my career.
And I would
I think that's
yeah. And I just want to
point.
jump in to say, just to add to that. Sorry, Pat. Right.
And I would say not at any expense. So there are people
I
that
get your
may
point, yeah.
that may be have a standing in society,
But they could be
where
pieces
they
of
can
shit.
help me achieve a degree
Yeah.
of success I
Or-
couldn't otherwise achieve without their involvement. But they're not very good people.
Right.
I want to have nothing to do
No,
with
you're
them.
right.
Correct. But to your point, just a second. To your point, though, it's not just about class, financial means. It's about not being in a silo, like broadening your circle. Isn't that what you're talking about
Yeah,
as well?
that too. But I think what Duran said is in terms of my career, you know, because I noticed later on when, you know, I did get to meet these people, how advantageous it was. It was a little late, but it provided me with opportunities that,
So what Pat said, though, the question I would have for you is, as an 18-year-old,
Yeah.
would you tell yourself, bite the bullet and hang out with people who you think are complete assholes or people you don't get along with just for the potential?
unfortunately, I have to answer yes.
So,
See, and I would actually phrase the question or the advice differently to my 18-year-old
okay,
self.
good. So
I would say, don't get seduced by the veneer.
Totally. Well said.
Don't allow the image that you see before you of wealth and so on influence you without first taking the time to understand how it was achieved, where it comes from, and what the substance is behind that veneer.
I totally
how
agree.
rotten the wood is underneath it. So
I
what would
totally
you say to
agree.
that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Pat. But if you're smart enough, you're going to find ways to benefit from whatever that person has to provide. So to me,
So you would be more manipulative. So
Yeah,
you would tell your
exactly.
18-year-old self to be to be more selective, to expand your circle,
Yeah.
and to be manipulative if you can be. So that's an okay.
yeah,
I'm
it's
not-
exactly that.
Yeah, I wouldn't go there. To me, the term, just the use of the word manipulative,
Yeah, well,
has negative connotation.
Well, that's what I mean. But so that's interesting.
Maybe for lack of a better word, but manipulative. Just extract what you can for your benefit.
So be very selfish.
Yeah, but I think you have to be selfish. I've been telling my daughters that. Worry about yourselves, at the beginning. Then you get to a certain level.
So
where you have financial independence, and then you can start being philanthropic and helping.
So you were more like Aki when you were 18, and you're saying you should have been less like Aki and more like yourself now.
Yeah,
I'll take that. I'm good with that.
it's okay.
I'm good with that.
See, my perspective, I don't agree with that. I know where it's coming from, and I agree with where it's coming from, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't want to do that to my 18-year-old self, because it's a lot of pressure to put on a kid who doesn't have the ability to think as wide and as deviously in a way.
I mean, you're making it more complicated than it is, because it rubs off on you when your circle is a little more expanded, and it just rubs off on you.
Okay.
And you get these opportunities right out.
So I'm
from the-
focusing.
That's
I'm
where I come
focusing
back
on
to
the negative
don't
now.
allow yourself to get seduced.
Yeah,
because I've seen people who are financially very well off, who are disrespectful towards others. They're not trustworthy. They're not true to their word. They're manipulative. Some of them are downright corrupt. And all of those, to me, steer clear, stay away.
That I totally agree.
Yeah.
Only build relationships.
Yeah, I focused on the negative. I apologize.
Only build on relationships with people who have good core values. And some will be successful financially and otherwise. Others may not be, and that's okay.
Yeah, and look, I can sympathize with what Dominic is saying, right? I mean, the whole idea is get out of your comfort zone.
That's what I got out of it.
That's what we're talking about.
See,
Get out of your comfort zone.
I didn't focus on that. I focused on the negative.
And
so.
associate, with other class of people.
Yeah.
And in that association, I think you're smart enough. I think you were smart enough at 18 to be able to kind of break through
I get it.
some of these, negative personalities and these issues that you're bringing
and
up.
filter it out.
And filter it out.
And
Yeah, I just think we need to be careful with this whole construct that we have with socioeconomic classes. And how we think of them, and
assholes are assholes.
assholes are
Assholes are assholes.
Look,
yeah.
a big Italian, let's not kid ourselves. When we were young, we were exposed to the mafia. We knew who they were, and we could have easily gone for that and make really good money really early. But you don't associate with that. And
But we don't talk about those things.
yeah, no, but it's a reality for me. I mean, it was, especially when you.
Yeah, for me, it's not so much. I think the lines are much clearer when we talk about criminal activity.
Yeah.
For me, there's a huge line that deals with ethical behaviors. So sometimes people are operating within the law, but are unethical people. They're not performing illegal acts, but what they're doing, in my mind, is not ethically correct. I want no part of that. I don't want to have to deal with that.
See,
Those are not the influences I would wish for my 18-year-old self.
See, in my situation, till about I was 18, 19, it was essentially Italian guys in my circle. I wish I had more Jewish people and to be exposed to other things.
Well, you had a Greek and an Armenian.
Yeah. But I was
They just want to be Italians anyway. So,
So I think he's politely saying, you guys weren't much at 18.
and it wasn't me; it was my brother.
Yeah.
Well, that explains a few things.
exactly.
Well,
No, that was all good. I'm just saying, it would have, it was, essentially till about 17, 18, Italian, just Italian guys.
So do you have regrets?
No. The only thing I regret in life is that I did not move out of my parents' house before I got married. That's the only thing. That's one thing.
So you would tell your 18-year-old self to move out of the house?
Oh, definitely.
We got something here.
Yeah, definitely. Oh,
And at what age would you suggest your 18-year-old
as
self?
soon as you start working.
Okay.
Okay, like I told him, well, I didn't have to tell my oldest, maybe I should say, but the youngest one, we had to coax her out,
a little encouragement.
Well,
Don't let the door slam you.
No, but
I'm squirming because I know her.
no, she's brilliant and everything, but she was comfortable, and but like I was very mature professionally when I got married, but not personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you think that lack of maturity, personal maturity, in part stemmed from the fact that you were living with your parents?
Of course, you've never paid a hydro bill. You never had to pay a mortgage. You never had to.
Were you spending your money foolishly?
Not foolishly, but you weren't thinking about it.
You weren't.
If you needed something, you didn't. Oh well, I have rent to pay. I have this to pay.
So you went off on your own, what, 27?
Yeah.
Okay. So in my case, 26. But don't suggest that you were completely like irresponsible,
Not irresponsible.
and sheltered and spoiled.
But he's saying what he would tell his 18-year-old self. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
So,
fair.
so what would have been the impact of that decision to move out? So if at 18 you knew what you know today, you would have moved out before getting married. You would have moved out of your parents' home.
Yeah.
How would that have changed your life?
Well, I think in terms of instead of acquiring that maturity when I got married, I would have had it before, on a personal level, not professionally. Professionally, I had it.
Interesting. I kind of agree with you because it was the same thing with me. I was 26 when I got married
you know,
and moved out.
Yeah.
Like, on the Friday, I'm living with my parents. We get married on the Saturday. We go on a honeymoon for 2 weeks. We come back to a house that we bought. We never lived together.
Right.
Never.
Same
So
with me.
all of a sudden,
No,
I have a roommate.
Us too.
I have a
Yeah,
roommate.
so we all have the same path.
Yeah, that's
Well, not
it.
all of us.
We'll come back to you.
So like, it was a bit of a huge change. Like the laundry doesn't get done by itself. The lawn doesn't get mowed. It's like it was a bit.
But
of
really,
a,
like overall,
Oh, so what you're saying is when you live with your parents, you were a freeloader.
basically, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Okay.
Of course.
But overall, if you look at the whole journey of your life, what difference would that have made?
Well, I think it's the right way of doing things.
Okay.
Well, it's good
You
advice.
believe- you
I think
believe
that's
that
good
today?
advice.
Yeah, I
think
really
that-
do.
I think that's great advice.
And
I agree with it.
Like I did. That's why I encourage my daughters. Once you're done with studying and you start to work, not because I didn't want them around, quite the opposite. But that was the right thing to do. And today, they both. I mean, the first one was an automatic, but even my youngest one.
Yeah, I encouraged my kids
Yeah.
to do the exact same thing. I mean,
Exactly.
both boys when they were going to school, they both got apartments, and
While they were in school.
yes,
Okay.
No, not in my case. My
No,
case,
not
They
well,
supported
side.
themselves?
no, I paid for it.
So what's the difference?
Well, I wasn't paying everything for them. They went, they understood that they had to figure stuff out, and they were on very tight budgets. I wasn't, paying them crazy amounts of money, but I was supporting their rent at least, and allowing them to actually
But
understand how to do their own laundry, how to cook for themselves, how to have schedules and put out their garbage, and basically learn how to live on their own. I thought, like Dominic says, I thought it would be really good for their development, and both my boys did that. My daughter also moved out quite early as well. So all three of my kids have had the ability or have had the experience of moving out at a fairly young age and living either with roommates or on their own and figuring stuff out. And I think even though they've now both moved back in for a little bit, back with their mom, again, in speaking with both of them, I think they both got a lot out of the fact that they did live alone and were had to take care of themselves. I think that's a growing experience for someone in their 18, 19, 20 year old.
Look, I think you guys are overly stating this. From my experience, so in the same situation as you guys, I was 26 when we were married, and that was when I officially left my parents. But until 26,
Sorry. Officially. So what were you doing
The
unofficially?
church service, okay? That's fine. We never lived together, but that's beside
Oh,
the point.
no.
That's
Not
an aside.
besides the
We'll come
point.
back.
No.
We'll
Wait
come
a
back.
second.
Well,
What were the unofficial acts that were occurring?
of course, we were in a relationship, for 6 years with my wife.
You mean you had premarital sex?
Oh, for God's sakes. Okay.
How dare you?
But here's the way I see it. So up to 26, and I was always, my relationship with my parents was always the greatest. We were always very proud to be a family. It was a good time to be with them. It was help them and be there for them. So it wasn't like I don't see it as a free ride.
How does that take away from what he says, though?
But then what I'm saying is, then you transition. When I did leave at the age of 26, then I easily transitioned to being a responsible person, and now looking after my own place and starting my marriage and so forth. Like, I don't see it as having
that
been an
was you.
impediment.
Okay,
but I think knowing him as well back then, I never saw. I don't think I would never, call you somebody. Oh, well, you're sheltered and you're not really. You haven't done enough in the real world.
But clearly, he doesn't reflect back the way you do.
Yeah.
Which is why he's making the statement he's making.
And I
Aki,
Every person's different.
your parents were a little different because they spoke the language. They were a little more educated than my parents. So they needed us more than. So, and it was also an Italian thing. You don't move out of your house.
Well, it's a Greek thing too.
Yeah,
I would say it's an ethnic thing.
It's an ethnic thing.
I just thought it was
Absolutely.
unusual that I'm 27 years old. I've never done a load of laundry.
I don't think among 27-year-old males who come from an ethnic background, I don't think for your generation that was so unusual.
No, it wasn't. You're right.
No, but he's saying it could be done better.
Exactly.
And I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. So,
And I'm with Aki in the sense that I don't think there are hard and fast rules. I think that it really comes down to the person, the individual.
Don't you think that it would be better for someone 18, 19, 20 years old to experience living on their own or with a roommate
Exactly.
before they get married? Just a question.
Well, before they get married?
Before they get married?
Yes, I do believe I do believe that couples would do well to live with one another before formally getting married.
Okay,
not
but-
in my case.
So
And I'm just telling you what my belief
The
is.
first time she would piss me off, I would leave.
Okay.
If I wasn't married. Yeah, I'm being honest.
Okay.
that's
Because my wife did propose it. I said, no way. It's not going to work.
So what?
I don't see
understand
what the
that.
difference
so you
is.
needed the marriage certificate
Yeah.
so that you would put up with her.
Well, not put
Yeah,
up.
is that-
Because, I know, it sounds weird.
It does.
But it was,
Well, no, because before the marriage, I'll stay with you for better.
Okay.
And only upon marrying her was it for better or worse.
That's interesting.
it's-
That's different.
I'm being honest.
And I'd be honest, for me, makes absolutely no difference.
I'm with
None
Pat.
whatsoever.
I'm with Pat.
I'm with this side.
Well,
I'm more in terms of if you really want to know how compatible you are, it can't just be we go on dates, we occasionally go on a trip together, it's all romance and
I know.
agree with you.
I think that the realities of living together bring an experience that better prepares you to deal with marriage, in my opinion.
I agree.
You're right. But in my case, I mean, the fact that we're Italian, she's Sicilian. I mean, it would have been a difficult thing to do to convince her parents.
You wouldn't have convinced her parents.
Yeah, exactly. And I know the way I am. Like, you pissed me off once.
Even back then.
Let that be a warning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's one of,
So you have a bit of Sicilian in you too.
well, I guess I do, but it's just well, we're talking about patience. We're 18 years old.
Yeah,
A lot
no
of us.
patience. Exactly.
Exactly. I mean,
Raw nerves.
till this day, I'm still. So, yeah, it went to work. No.
Okay.
So it wasn't an option for me.
Okay, so guys, final thoughts, whether it's to your 18-year-old self or any 18-year-old out there. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Have some patience. Grow yourself. Look inward. Try and figure out why you're doing the things you are. That self-awareness, which took me an extra 12 years afterwards to get, 22 years afterwards to get. If you can get it earlier, the earlier you can be self-aware and understand your feelings and why you are the way you are, the better you're going to be as a human being, and the more powerful you're going to be in growing yourself to be a better human being.
I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to say, Dominic, you did okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
Be confident, be honest, and go for it.
Be true to yourself. Strive to be the best possible version of yourself at every stage of life and enjoy it to the fullest. It's a long journey, but it'll be over before you know it.
Very good.
And look at the results around this table.
Exactly.
They're good stories.
I'm a fucking psycho.
Now you tell us.
Keeps coming back to that. Don't worry, folks. We'll get him the help he needs. Thanks for joining us, guys. Always a blast. Looking forward to the next one.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Great one. Bye, guys.
Bye.